The boxing universe was still reverberating from Naoya the monster, and Inoue's most recent demolition job against the tough and durable Raymond Cardenas when the Japanese destroyer did what has become his trademark move in recent years. Without hesitation or ceremony, he set his predatory sights on what would be his next elite-level prey, former unified champion Mariginic model. But when the legendary Iron Mike Tyson, arguably the most terrifying heavyweight champion in boxing history, offered his thoughts on this potential super fight during a recent no-holds-barred discussion on his popular hotboxing podcast, his visceral reaction sent seismic waves through the combat sports landscape that served as a powerful reminder of why Tyson remains one of the most magnetic and insightful voices in boxing nearly 2 decades after his final professional bout. Tyson, never known for sugarcoating his opinions or speaking in measured tones, erupted with unrestrained admiration when the conversation turned to Inoue's fearless challenge. Tyson growled with that iconic, raspy intensity that made him such a compelling figure both inside and outside the ring. He's operating with that same primal killer instinct that only comes around once in a blue moon in this sport. When I study his fights, I see that same cold, merciless focus in his eyes that I used to have when I was young and starving, that unshackable belief that you're not just in there to win a boxing match, but to fundamentally alter your opponent's career trajectory in ways they'll never fully recover from. The comparison to Tyson's own legendary reign of terror during the late 1980s wasn't offered lightly, coming as it did from a man who understood better than most what it meant to instill genuine fear in world-class opponents before they even stepped through the ropes. What seemed to impress Tyson most wasn't just Inoue's otherworldly skills, but his unquenchable thirst for challenges. Despite already establishing himself as arguably boxing's premier pound-for-pound talent, look at these so-called champions today. They're out here cherry-picking opponents, ducking real threats, protecting their precious zero like it's some kind of sacred relic. But this Inoue tough contender, that's some real throwback right there. That's the mentality of a true gladiator who gives a damn about his place in history, not just his bank account. The reverence in Tyson's voice was unmistakable. He traced Inoue's career path, marveling at how the Japanese phenom had systematically eviscerated entire weight classes with the clinical precision of a surgeon and the brute force of a wrecking ball. Yet, true to his analytical nature, Tyson turned deadly serious when breaking down the specific threats that model would bring to the table, demonstrating why he remains one of boxing's sharpest technical minds. Now let's keep it 100 here. This model ain't no tune-up fight. We're talking about a dude with deep boxing roots, that extensive Soviet-style amateur background where they spar like it's life or death from age 12 plus. He carries deceptive power in both hands. If Ine thinks he's just walking through this cat because he's got the bigger name, he might wake up staring at the lights wondering what the hell just did him. The way Tyson dissected at models' footwork, body attack, and underrated defensive skills reveal the depth of boxing knowledge that few active trainers could match. However, Tyson quickly pivoted back to explaining why he considers Inoue a generational talent, operating on a different plane than his contemporaries. But here's the scary truth that separates Inoue from these other belt holders. Inoue, it processes information in the ring like he's got an AI supercomputer wired into his central nervous system. You could be having the fight of your life, thinking you finally cracked the code, then bam, one microscopic adjustment later, and you're doing the stanky leg, trying to remember what year it is and who taught you how to box in the first place. The vivid description perfectly captured the terrifying suddenness with which Inoue turns competitive fights into highlight real knockouts. Tyson became particularly animated when discussing Inoue's freakish punching power relative to his size, a subject clearly close to his heart. People need to understand something. This kid is starching natural featherweights and junior lightweights while barely breaking a sweat as a goddamn bantamweight. That ain't normal power. That ain't even elite power. When he cracks dudes, they don't just hit the canvas, they start speaking in tongues, seeing their ancestors, rethinking their entire career choices. The colorful analogy perfectly encapsulated the devastating, life-altering nature of Inoue's knockouts that have become appointment viewing for fight fans worldwide. The discussion took a fascinating historical turn when Tyson began comparing Inoue's current dominance to other all-time great smaller weight fighters I've seen. Some stone-cold assassins in those lower divisions over the years. Ricardo Lopez, with his perfect technique. Finito Lopez, with his surgical precision. Chocolatito, with his relentless pressure. But in a way, he's got that same technical mastery as those legends, but with this extra dimension, this factor where you can feel the violence radiating off him even when he's just standing in his corner between rounds. There's an inevitability to his knockouts that reminds you why they call this the hurt business. The comparison to these legendary names underscored just how highly Tyson regards Inoue's place in boxing's pantheon, even with years potentially left in his prime. Never one to hedge his bets, Tyson offered a definitive prediction about how he sees the potential matchup unfolding unless Akhmadaliev can turn this into a dirty, ugly street fight from the opening bell and drown him in deep waters early. I see Inoue dissecting him round by round like a biology experiment until boom, another poor bastard gets added to his highlight reel. What people don't appreciate is his precision isn't just accurate, it's predatory. He's not throwing punches to score points, he's carefully removing your consciousness one perfectly calibrated shot at a time, like some kind of neurological assassin. The graphic description painted a terrifying picture of what might await at Mode Life should the fight materialize. Perhaps most insightful was Tyson's breakdown of the psychological warfare aspect, drawing from his own experiences as the most feared man in boxing. The scariest part about Inoue ain't his hand speed or his power, it's that eerie calm he carries into battle. Most killers in this sport, they're screaming and hyping themselves up in the locker room. This kid, he's just sitting there staring through you like he's already played out your demise in his head 100 times. That quiet confidence seeps into a